with an update on the severe weather wreaking havoc throughout the area. And
you've been talking about the widespread damage with the wind driving into work here at the studio. We saw a lot of trees down in certain areas. In Bettendorf, the sirens are going off. As we tell us all the time, Andy, the sirens do go off from time to time when there is severe weather. It doesn't have to be a tornado, but severe weather in the area. We have Colby in our storm chaser right now, and I believe he is on I-80. We want to take a look right now at where he's at. And Colby, can you hear me? We cannot hear Colby, but right now you can see from his camera, looks like rain is just coming down, and he is on I-80. He's north of DeWitt, Garrett is telling me, and I do believe Andy was telling us that a semi was overturned in a certain area on I-80. Is that north of DeWitt, Andy?
I believe the semi, that was on 61 by Muscatine. Something else I think I noticed, and it looked like the lights at the Dairy Queen right there might have gone off, right, just a few seconds ago, so that might be more power outages now.
I know that in my neighborhood, I live right next to Hopewell Elementary School, some of the furniture outside, neighbors were calling me, asking me to pull their furniture inside. Some of that was already moving around, and I left my house about 35 minutes ago. So as Andy has been telling us, widespread damage with wind is one of the major concerns we are talking about with this storm right now. Colby there live for us around I-80 north of DeWitt, and he's going to continue to be our storm chaser throughout the afternoon. But Andy, let's talk about the latest on what's going on with this weather.
All right, thank you for that update. And again, we continue to get these numbers in, and like Ann was mentioning, we've talked about it a couple of times, the sirens, they go off for winds of 70 miles per hour and up, and there's actually room to spare today because it's been 80, 85, 90 miles per hour. That's why you've heard some of the sirens in the Quad Cities. We haven't had any tornado warnings, but I've stressed it a couple of times. The winds with these thunderstorms are stronger than probably half of the tornadoes that we have reported around the Quad Cities. A lot of the times when we get those EF0 tornadoes, the winds might be 70, 75 miles per hour. Today's winds have been 80, 85, 90 miles per hour. Just moments ago, the National Weather Service reported a wind gust on the north side of the Quad Cities at 86 miles per hour. And again, that's not an estimate. That was measured by some expensive weather equipment. Again, so that's, again, not a guess. That is exactly what's happening. All right, let's get back over to the Pinpoint Doppler radar now on our weather computer, and we're going to track exactly where these storms are. And we expect the power outage numbers to start coming in. I believe, unless Dairy Queen in DeWitt, I think that's what it was, just decided to close. I believe while we had the live video up from Colby earlier, I think their power might have gone out right before our eyes because I did notice the sign going off. All right, so here's the line of thunderstorms. Extreme winds still taking place. That's about the 5th power surge we've had here in the district of Rock Island. The lights are still on. That's a good thing. Not sure if we've had to have a backup generator kick in or not, but this is what we're looking at. And the line of storms here, Garrett, something we haven't done for the last few minutes. Let's go ahead and plot some of the wind speeds. And again, we have seen incredibly bad numbers. 70, 80, 90, 100, 110 miles per hour. It's numbers that, well, we've been here for a long time doing this. I've been reporting on severe weather in the Quad Cities for almost 18 years now, and I don't remember seeing numbers like this very often. The one time that might jump out, it was about 10 years ago. We had that derecho come through at around 6 a.m., and some people in Illinois especially had no power for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Hopefully that will not be the case. And here's a little bit of good news. You know, we don't have the numbers aren't quite so bad. They're still likely to cause damage, but they're not 80, 90, and 100 miles per hour. There's another power surge and another power surge. So again, the power grid just having all kinds of problems right now. And what happens here, it's not lightning hitting a transformer usually. It's the wind taking down large tree branches that go right onto the power lines, or the wind just takes the power pole down itself. That drags that down, that drags the line down, and a lot of times it'll be then the next power pole right on down the line. So that's why we're going to see all kinds of problems here. Again, we've mentioned Des Moines has more than 100,000 people without power. Hopefully we can avoid a huge number in the Quad Cities, but I'll be shocked if we don't have those numbers starting to go up here shortly. So again, still looking at this part of the storm here, almost starting to wonder about that data from that particular area. But again, very strong winds throughout, a lot of thunder and lightning throughout. Hail hasn't been too much of a problem. We can double check that though with a hail product. Most of the hail reports, I've seen a bunch of hail reports coming in, and a lot of those hail reports were outside of the viewing area, but we'll continue to watch them from right here in the Weather Center. Your local Pinpoint forecast as we do everything we can. Again, it's a team coverage kind of day, so we'll continue that theme right now. We'll come right back to the Pinpoint Doppler radar, but I believe Jim has some more info for us now. Jim?
Yeah, and he's still following the power outage situation out here, certainly. Davenport finally has a power outage. Not that we want to see these happen. There's only been one outage reported right now in Davenport through Mid-American Energy. Only one customer affected. We do expect that number to rise, certainly. As I reported earlier, I got a little more information. Ameren, Illinois has the biggest outage right now in our area, reporting so far. The new Boston area, 26 customers. Keithsburg, in Illinois with 9 customers. And you have east of Burlington in Illinois. You have the Gulfport, and then east of there on Walter Payton Highway, there's about 120 customers now infected without power in that area. So those are the situations right now in terms of the power outages. ComEd, our area that does serve ComEd or is served by ComEd, doesn't have any power outages effective right now in our area. There's about 1,000 overall in the state, but most of that in the Chicago area. So right now, Ameren, Illinois, in our area, reporting the most, about almost 150 customers without power. We're taking a look behind me. You can see this is just outside of our station here, just the wind blowing right outside there on 18th Street near 3rd Avenue. There we go, and you can see just the wind gusting pretty well out there with the storm situation here. That's enough to certainly cause the damage that we're seeing. Stronger winds, Andy's talking 80 to 100 mile an hour winds, certainly enough to cause the trees to knock into power lines and knock out power. Certainly going to be a big story tonight. We've got going to check in now on the digital newsroom where Local 4's Zachary Winicky is standing by with the situation out there. Zachary, what are you seeing online?
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned the power outages a little bit, and you mentioned there's only one officially by Mid-American. On Facebook, we're seeing a couple more. Someone said there's a power outage in Moline. We've seen, someone said the Dick's staff, they're taking shelter in the back and that their doors at the store are swinging uncontrollably even though they've been locked. There's a tree down at the corner of 25th Street and 8.5 Avenue in Rock Island. There's power outages in Silvis. There's another power outage reported in Moline around 25th Avenue. There's a power outage in Silvis, in Milan. So, like you mentioned, there's not a whole lot of officially reported power outages, but on Facebook we're seeing a whole lot more. They said they lost power by the water treatment plant in Moline. So, like you said, these high winds can cause a lot of damage, a lot of power outages, and they're still obviously coming in on Facebook. Power outage in Cambridge, in Bluegrass, they're getting their lights flickering. And someone's saying the Mid-American site is down. They have a power outage now in Davenport. She said they can't report it because the site for Mid-American is down. Carbon Cliff, there's power outage there. So as you can see, a lot more damage, a lot more power outages than we're seeing online. And when this is all over, feel free to post your pictures that you've gotten or pictures you've taken of the damage at your house or any of your residents or your neighborhood on ourquadcities.com. And for now, in the digital newsroom, Zachary Winicky, back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Zachary, for that update. Certainly, we've got another live image to show you going on right outside our studio. We've noticed that one of the lamps, the lights there, has fallen off of the pole there and has shattered outside of our studio. So that's certainly a sign of some of the damage that can be done. I've heard actually in my neighborhood over in Iowa near the Bettendorf neighborhoods that we're seeing a lot of tree limbs down, small tree limbs at this point certainly, but hopefully that's the extent of it that we'll see today, but who knows? We're talking about a several-hour event here, and certainly with the wind being the impactful force here. So we're watching here again. This is just outside our studio. A little bit of a lamp. The lamp casing has fallen off of its post and has shattered outside of our sidewalk there, just outside here in downtown Rock Island. Andy, of course, keeping us up to date on all of the situation as it's developing outside. Andy, how do things look at the moment?
Things in the Metro Quad Cities will start to improve here in about another 10 to 15 minutes. We're still taking heavy, strong winds, though. You can actually hear a lot of the winds kind of pummeling the roof here on the top of the building. So I do want to get you up to speed on exactly who's still under the severe thunderstorm warnings and why. It's because winds could still be 90 miles per hour. And I've heard also from multiple people in the Quad Cities that their power is out. So I'm afraid what will happen is when we get one of our next updates from Mid-American, I think we're going to go from next to 0 to to a whole bunch. So it's going to go 0 to 60 on the power outages here with the next couple of updates, but we'll keep following those and keep tabs on that. So the Metro Quad Cities still under a severe thunderstorm warning until 2:15. This includes more than 500,000 people. But notice on the west side of the Quad Cities, the weather is not quite so bad. So that's a little bit of good news there. So again, severe thunderstorm warnings do continue. We're going to track off to the north just a little bit, and severe thunderstorm warnings continue for Jackson, Joe Davies County, also until 2:15. So we're looking at severe thunderstorms there. It's basically just about the entire area along and then east of the Mississippi River. In Whiteside County, you've seen the coverage. I think you kind of know what's coming up. Trust us, it's going to get bad here shortly. Same deal in Henry County and Geneseo. It's already going downhill. And Bureau County, you're not out of the woods yet. Your weather goes downhill in a hurry here in just a little while. So again, these severe thunderstorm warnings continue along and east of the river. We continue to see multiple reports of wind that is 75 and 80 miles per hour. That's why there is going to be damage as we continue to see power surges here. Team coverage kind of day again. Ann has a little bit more. I think we'll hear from our local 4 storm chaser, Colby Martin, too. Ann?
Yep, we are going to check back in with Colby as our lights continue to flicker here. This is a way to welcome our Monday, right? Let's check in with our storm chaser, Colby, right now. North of DeWitt, I believe, still on I-80, Colby?
Yeah, I'm currently driving through DeWitt. Lots of damage right now. Lots of power lines and trees throughout town. Probably about 7-8 minutes ago, we had probably sustained 70 to 80 mile an hour winds there for 3 to 4 minutes. So now I'm just checking out. I have seen a lot of the power out as well.
It looks like we're losing your camera shot there, Colby, but set the scene for us. Describe what you're actually seeing, because I would imagine from your perspective, you're saying travel is not advised right now.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be traveling, getting out unless you absolutely have to. Like I said, I've seen power lines down, lots of trees down, emergency vehicles en route right now. I'm currently going through a BP gas station. They've lost all power here. Like I said, the first gust of wind came through probably about 20-25 minutes ago, 70+ mile an hour wind gust, and then we just had the big surge come through.
We should point out, Colby, how many years have you been doing this when we say we're advising people not to travel and to stay home if they can? You're a trained expert. You've been a storm chaser for how many years? You've been through these storms before.
Yeah, I've been through several tornadoes, strong storms, hurricanes over the years, and when you get bad storms that come through and create damage, it's best to just stay out of the way. As you can see, an ambulance passing me currently right now, several police cars. So just let them do their job, and you know, if you can, like I said, it's best to stay out of the way, and especially with power lines down, you don't know if they're live or not. So just stay in if you can.
What areas can you recall that you've seen those power lines down, just in case we have all our viewers right now listening, hopefully maybe on our app, using their internet, trying to get this information to keep their families safe?
Yeah, currently I'm sitting on 11th Street here in DeWitt, facing west. Looks like this is the main street here in town, so this is what you're seeing.
Okay. We've lost your image though, Colby, but we appreciate your information. We appreciate you being out there. Again, we're watching our Pinpoint Doppler right now. It looks like Andy's hard at work trying to get some new information for us. And Andy, what can you tell us?
All right, so everything we just heard from Colby, that was the area, he's again just north of the Quad Cities, where he did make it sound like there's pretty significant damage around DeWitt. So that was what we had circled, again, north of the Quad Cities. And it's not just going to be DeWitt, it is going to be area-wide. I think every single county in the viewing area is going to have not just damage, but multiple places where there is significant or heavy damage from these storms. So here's the leading edge now. Now, in the Quad Cities, our weather, you can still hear the wind. It will improve here within the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. But it's already been 10, 15, 20 minutes of extreme wind. But we will start to see some improvement here. Where it's not going to improve, where it's going to do the opposite, where it's going to get significantly worse, that is east of the Quad Cities. So let's go in for a close-up look here around Carroll County. We're going to take you county by county now, and we're going to show you exactly what's happening again. So here we are, Carroll County. In Fenton right now, it's bad. Chadwick just about to get bad. Lanark, it's gonna get bad shortly. Very windy, damage likely in Thompson and Savannah right now. Severe thunderstorm warning there. Then we get to Whiteside County. Again, here's Fenton in Whiteside County, Prophetstown, Erie, Morrison, all of the places in the western half of Whiteside County picking up bad weather right now. Eastern side of Whiteside County, well, your weather's going to get bad, get nasty here very shortly, so not a good time to be traveling on Highway 30. Again, we've had multiple reports of people suffering damage on their cars from debris, including some debris as large as one of those wood pallets that you see. That kind of weather, though, taking place around the area. So again, this is a nasty line of storms. So that's Whiteside County. As we get to Henry County, Geneseo, it's already been bad. Atkinson, Anawan, really bad right now. In Kewanee, by Goods Furniture, things about to get really nasty as we have these storms that could still produce winds of 70 and 80, potentially 90 miles per hour. South of the Quad Cities now, a little bit of Henry County here, and then we get into Knox County and Galesburg, and that's also a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for that part of the viewing area. Monmouth and Warren County right now, winds probably not 80 miles per hour, but they could be 60 miles per hour, and that's enough to cause some damage. So we're looking at this severe thunderstorm warning there. All right, so let's go back out to our regular local view here. And again, we're stressing everybody along the river and east of the river. This is now turning into more of an Illinois thing. In Iowa, we've already taken it right on the chin from these storms. So this is now basically shifting into Illinois, and these storms continue moving at 60 and 70 miles per hour. Garrett, let's go ahead and track this just a little bit here. Again, 70 miles per hour. So this storm continues moving off to the east, and that's what we're looking at again, as we do have very bad weather going east of the Quad Cities right now. I believe Jim has another update for us on more damage around the area. Jim?
Absolutely, Andy. We're certainly just keeping tabs on these power outages. Right now we're still with Mid-American Energy, just the one in our area reported, but as you heard from Colby, he was in the DeWitt area. We certainly know that the power outages are certainly more extensive there by judging just the visual images we got from him with power lines being knocked down. It just might take a while for those outages to be reported to Mid-American Energy and then making it onto its website. We've got, now Ameren, Illinois is up to several, like a Big River State Forest, Little York, Monmouth now has 120 customers without power. So we're now approaching about 500 or so just in our coverage area in the Ameren, Illinois side of the customer service area. We've got local 4's Redrick Terry standing by on the telephone with what he's seeing out in his community. Redrick, what do you got? We lost Redrick Terry there on the phone. We'll cut back to him in a couple of minutes. But again, I just want to go run down these areas, though. First of all, New Boston area, 26 customers, Keysburg, 9. East of Burlington area, that's in Gulfport. And then on Walter Payton Memorial Highway, 120. Monmouth, 120 customers without power. Little York, 30. And then an area of the Big River State Forest, another 81 customers. And this, I'm just watching that map pop up, and new areas are popping up every couple of minutes. So we are seeing the domino effect start to take its toll here as people report those outages and the different companies put them on their outage map. So we certainly are dealing with a pretty major weather event today. And of course, Chief Meteorologist Andy McRae's been on top of it from the very beginning. Andy, what's going on out there now?
All right. Well, those winds, they continue here in the Quad Cities, and that's something that's also a little bit unusual. A lot of the times we get these winds for, again, just a minute or so. This is now 10, 15, 20 minutes of extremely strong winds. I believe why Jim was talking there in the monitor behind him on the live video feed from right outside our building, you can see one of the branches from one of the trees here in the district coming down. So, again, that was a live look. So this is the loop here. So you can see how the storm has progressed over the last couple of hours. It's gone right through Iowa, and it's gone right down Interstate 80, and of course that takes it right through home here in the Quad Cities, and it continues moving east now. Another severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Eventually this will get folks around Chicago too, but that's not our concern right now. Everybody here at home is the concern, and again, I'm afraid the power outage numbers that we've been tracking, we fully expect them to go up and maybe make a big jump. I noticed Iowa City was around 10, 12,000, Des Moines still over 100,000, and these winds have been been just as strong here as they were there. So there's no reason to think that we don't have a lot more people without power. And we continue to get power surges here too. So in case you do lose power at home, we've got this team coverage that will continue at ourquadcities.com. And we also are Facebook living this, doing this live on Facebook on the Local 4 WHBF page. So you can pull it up there, pull it up on ourquadcities.com. Many ways to follow us in case the power does go out, which, Ann, I still think is probably likely happening for thousands of people around the Quad Cities right now.
Absolutely. We're going to get the latest update on that. We're talking about central Iowa seeing the major bulk of the power outages. But let's get the latest numbers right now. We have Zachary Winnicky live in our digital newsroom with what we are seeing with Mid-American Energy and all the other power companies. What are they reporting right now, Zachary?
Yeah, and well, there's not a whole lot in the way of Mid-American, but on Facebook, there's still people giving us their statuses. And before I left off saying power outage in Carbon Cliff, well, now someone in Bettendorf says their power is out. Another power outage in Rock Island. Moline, there's another one. Someone over in Moline by the Jewel Osco area says there's been a power outage. They don't have any power at the YWCA Iowa Empowerment Center. Someone in Davenport lost power at the Kraft Heinz. I guess sort of near the river. Yeah, so it's just kind of a lot of people losing power, especially on the Illinois side. And again, when all this is over and when it's safe, feel free to send us your picture of the damage in your neighborhood around your house. But for now, live in the newsroom, Zachary Winnicky. Back to you, Ann.
All right, Zachary, thank you. I want to check it back in with Chief Meteorologist Andy McCrae, who has been at the front of keeping us ahead of the storm. He's the front and center of our forecast here. And Andy, let's talk about, you said 80 and 85 mile per hour winds. That's what we're talking about in reporting right now. Describe that for us, for folks that are staying at home and, as you said, down in their basement right now. I've been through a hurricane, and at Hurricane Force 1, winds are in that 80 category. It's nothing to play around with, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and if you are downstairs, hopefully you're downstairs, I can virtually guarantee once you go upstairs and kind of look out in the yard, you're going to see maybe the lawn furniture's blown over, maybe there's a branch down, maybe there's a tree down. There is going to be damage. It's going to be hard to find any area in the Quad Cities where you look around and within either a block or two or even a house or two or a yard or two, you don't find some kind of damage. Hopefully it's not much, hopefully it's just a little bit, but it's been that widespread that I really believe that. It's going to be hard to find an area that, got out relatively unscathed. And again, that's a good testament. Again, we have, like Ann mentioned, a Category 1 hurricane. That could be winds of 75 to 80 miles per hour. An EF0 tornado that we might get here around the Quad Cities, those could be winds of 75 miles per hour also. And those could only affect, somebody within like a 50-yard path or something like that. We've had 80 and 90 and close to 100-mile-an-hour winds along a large portion of this line of storms. So think about that. It's 100 miles plus from one part of this line of storms to the other. Unfortunately, just our bad luck today here in the Quad Cities, we've been right in the middle of that line, and a lot of the times where you see the storm bowing out just a little bit, that does prove to be where the absolute strongest winds are and the absolute worst weather is. That's why things have been so bad around the Quad Cities. So again, right now things are getting worse east of the Quad Cities as these storms do continue in that direction. We've tracked these winds throughout the day. We've seen just eye-popping numbers of 100 miles per hour, and right now we're looking at winds that are likely 90 miles per hour. So what this product is here behind me, this comes from our Pinpoint Doppler radar, and the Doppler radar, the nice expensive multi-million Doppler radar, the National Weather Service office. And what's happening here is not only does the radar tell us where there's rain, where there's snow, but it's also able to pick up on the motion of the air, the little particles in the air up above the ground. Not only is it able to tell us how fast they're moving, but it also is able to tell us which direction they're moving. So it's some really pretty cool technology. It's been around for a little while now, but it helps a lot on days like this. Now, we haven't seen a lot of rotation. That's why we haven't been overly concerned about any spin-up tornadoes. But what we're looking at here is just this entire line of storms going now east of the Quad Cities. And the reason you see the different colors, when the storm is moving away from the Doppler radar, you can see up here along the legend, these colors show up. As the storm is moving toward the radar, these colors show up. So that's why you see a little bit of a shift in the color right as it passes where the National Weather Service is, right there on the north side of the Quad Cities. So that's what these colors mean. Now, they probably mean a lot more to Garrett and I, but again, we want you to be able to kind of follow what we're doing here. So when you see, again, this shading here, like we wouldn't want to see yellow. That would be extremely strong winds, and we do have some of the orange and some of the peach showing up. So again, we're looking at very strong winds now moving away from the radar because the storm is going over towards Chicago. Now on the Chicago radar, and we're not going to pull this up or anything, but their color pattern would be just the opposite. This storm here would be showing up as moving toward the radar site. So when we look for the rotation in the storms and the wind speed in the storms, that's some of the stuff that we are looking at. And again, these multi-million-dollar radars have come in very handy, and they've proved to be very useful today. All right, Garrett, let's put on some of the storm reports over the last 12 hours. And we promise you there's going to be a lot more of these showing up once the data, gets relayed to the National Weather Service and the proper people with the National Weather Service. We're going to see a lot more of this, and eventually these are all just going to go all the way through the area. Let's check on some of the wind reports from the National Weather Service office, because there we had reports of 60 and 75 miles per hour. So let's clear this off, Garrett, and check everything out just on the north side of the Quad Cities, because there was a measured wind gust of 79 miles per hour. That's why we're so concerned about everybody around the Quad Cities. Again, that's stronger than hurricane force winds, and it's stronger than a lot of the tornadoes that end up being kind of weak tornadoes. And there's another one even worse. That was 86 miles per hour. That was measured. That's not a guess. That's not an estimation by a trained weather spotter, which those are usually pretty useful too. This is actually a measurement from the Doppler radar. So that is the latest here. Let's see if we have any other video that we can go to. I don't know if we have anything from Colby or from our Quad Cities cam, or if we have another report we're set to go to. So we mentioned things we're going to start to improve just a little bit in the Quad Cities. I think you can tell from that live video, still a little windy out there, but things starting to improve in parts of the Quad Cities. Jim?
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely can use some relief from the wind. The power outages, they are certainly mounting now in the area. Mid-American Energy now taking a big spike in the last few minutes. We reported 105,000 power outages before, now up to more than 143,000 customers without power in all of Iowa. Big jump there in Iowa City, where almost 16,000 people without power. But now you have in the Quad Cities in Iowa side of things, 1,446 customers now without power, and then in Illinois, 167 customers without power. That's in the Quad Cities direct with Mid-American Energy. And then you add on top of that another 500 or so served by Ameren, Illinois, and New Boston, Keithsburg, in the Burlington area east of there, and Memorial Highway, Walter Payton Memorial Highway, Monmouth, Little York, and the Big River State Forest. And up in Fulton, which is served by ComEd, there's another 100 customers there without power. So you add that all up, it's certainly a significant amount of people without customers. And we're going to check it now live with Redrick Terry, Local 4's Redrick Terry, with an update on the situation where he is. Redrick?
Jim, good afternoon to you. As you just mentioned, we are here in Fulton right now. I say we, I'm with our photographer, Brian Bob. What we're noticing right now here from downtown Fulton, lots of strong wind. Heavy rain just passed through. Now we've got a lot of wind moving through, lots of downed branches. We've seen these different type of structures being moved over. We've seen a fire pit being blown across the street at one point. A street sign is falling off. We're at the intersection 4th Street here in downtown Fulton. That stoplight, I should say, just went out here as drivers are continuing to kind of pull over, take it slow, and just try and make it through the storm. Right now here in downtown Fulton, again, we're seeing down branches in the roadways right now, lots of things flying around. So obviously, if you're out and about, want to take it nice and slow as you make your way through. Jim, we'll send it back to you, and anything else that helps you will.
Redrick, thank you, and be safe. And that certainly, as Redrick says, really don't want to be out at all this time, so there really is no absolute reason to be out and about driving. If you're just don't want to just try to do some sightseeing, no, wait for the situation to calm down, and we will certainly keep you apprised of the situation. And again, 143,000 customers without power in all of Iowa, Mid-American Energy customers. The Quad Cities area of Iowa, 1,446, another 160 in the Quad Cities area of Illinois. We're going to send things back over to Chief Meteorologist Andy McRae with the situation. We're seeing things die down in some areas, but that storm keeps shifting off to the east, Andy.
Yeah, the storm's moving east of the Quad Cities. Redrick had a good point there, though. Again, these winds, it's not just a minute or two. It can be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. So the winds are very significant. Our Quad Cities cam, Rock Island, might be offline again. Understandably, there are some problems, some power problems, some electrical problems around the area. And but we did want to show you, we're going to take this time lapse back here just a little bit. Once we get this back going, I want to show you this just incredible video of what happened earlier. So So let's slow things down here, Garrett. We'll just take it frame by frame with the slider bar. This is the storm approaching the Quad Cities, and watch what happens here. I'm even going to jump off the screen so you can see it. These strong winds, they start picking up some dust, some debris, and again, I've never seen anything quite like it around the Quad Cities. Look at what it looked like there just before 1:30. This on the west side of the Quad Cities, that is that line of storms coming into the area. It looked bad, it's been bad, and again, and then for a little while the camera went offline there just after 1:20, but never seen anything quite like it. Let's just pause it right here, Garrett. Look at this. So this is the river. Normally the river, obviously we all know this, flows this way. That's downriver. Well, the top part of the river, at least the top feet or two of water, they actually started going back this way because of those extremely strong winds. And when we had the live video up earlier, boy, you could really see it plain as day. The river looked like it was going backwards. That's a testament to how strong the winds were. And it wasn't just a little bit or for just a second or two. It was this entire section of the river heading back toward the Centennial Bridge. So again, just crazy how bad it looked. And then as bad as it looked, I think it's been even worse, to be honest with you. So, all right, well, let's jump back over to Pinpoint Doppler radar now, and we'll show you exactly where the storms are right now. It was the entire Local 4 News team and Fox 18 team, your local Pinpoint forecast team, all hands on deck. We continue to gather all kinds of info, and basically we've heard many reports from many of our towns, including throughout parts of the Quad Cities. Redrick reported in from Fulton. We've had multiple reports of damage in Muscatine. Local 4 storm chaser Colby Martin, he showed us what it was like in DeWitt. We saw the power go out right before our eyes with that live video feed from the DeWitt area. I believe it was the Dairy Queen sign that we saw turn off as the power went out just like that. Colby said as he was talking to us, an ambulance racing by, police officers racing by, as they're the first to run in and race in and try to get people help when they need it. And unfortunately, with as many trees that have come down, inevitably, there's probably a tree on a house somewhere. We haven't heard that just yet. We can hope that wasn't the case, but inevitably today, I'm afraid that probably has happened at least one or two places around the area. So hopefully those folks have gotten the help that they've needed, and hopefully those folks were watching, as we've been on since before the storms even got to the Quad Cities, and hopefully they knew to be down in the basement. So in the Quad Cities, we still have some rain coming down. We still have some gusty winds, but a lot of the winds now 30, 40 miles per hour. We haven't taken one of the power surges here in the district within the last few minutes. At times you could hear the wind just hitting the building all around us. Well, that has not been the case over the last few minutes either. So the weather in the Quad Cities is improving, and as of 2:15, that severe thunderstorm warning for the Metro Quad Cities was allowed to expire. So great news there. That's why we want to focus our attention right now east of the Quad Cities, and this is where the winds are the worst. This is where we're still likely having wind damage taking place right now. A severe thunderstorm warning continues. Garrett will put the information on. East of the Quad Cities, these warnings, they go for a little while longer. These storms are still moving at about 60 miles per hour. And this warning goes until 2:45. In our viewing area, we've got portions of Carroll County, Whiteside County. This one's mostly just barely outside of the viewing area. It includes Lee County in Illinois, so the western half of Lee County. We're watching out for that area. And we also have Bureau and Henry County under a severe thunderstorm warning, and this goes until 3 o'clock. All right, so let's plot some of the winds now. We'll go ahead and take some of the warning data off here so we can get down to some of the most important data, and that's the wind speed, because again, winds are responsible for 95% or more of our problems today. And Henry County right now, it is extremely windy, and that includes almost the entire county. 98 miles per hour, and in Bureau County we're looking at 87 miles per hour, 94 miles per hour just to the east of Interstate 74, south of Interstate 80. That's just northeast of Woodhull, not far from Alpha, and it's just south of Geneseo. So again, we have damage all around the area. Again, we've mentioned Fulton, DeWitt, the Quad Cities, Muscatine, Galesburg too. For more on that, let me send it over to Ann now, and she has an update from Galesburg in Knox County.
Andy, thank you so much. Monitoring Twitter right now, we have a team of reporters out in the field for you, and they are posting their video on social media first, and you can go to WHBF and you can look at some of that video. We had Redrick and Fulton. You see a lot of trees down in the video that he's posting. Right now, I want to send it out to Ryan Risky, though. He is in Galesburg, and he's posting a picture of what looks like a fire on a power line. Ryan, what's going on?
Yeah, and that's right. It's a fire on a power line right now. The fire department is here trying to get that cleaned up. and it is pounding. The rain is just absolutely pounding. Winds are gusting. I don't know if we've gotten up to 80 or 90 miles an hour here yet. I'm sure that's coming, except it's pretty bad over here, and it got really dark really quick. The storm basically just came, immediately caused this fire. The fire department is still working to safely try to put that out. As you said, it was a power line. So they're still trying to put that out, and we're going to continue to look for more damage out here in Knox County and Galesburg.
All right, Ryan, give us exactly your location where you are right now. And this picture that I'm looking at, I only have one image of where you're at and you're located. It looks like you're next to a red brick building, but also a lot of tree limbs look to be down in the area where you're located.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, I'm right next to a restaurant right now. I can't see the sign, and then there is a building across the street from that, and it looks like some energy company has just shown up to try to help out with this fire. It is still going right now.
All right, so you see power lines down in your area. Do you know the crossroads where you're located? Take a look around. Go ahead and take a look around, because I know you're driving around, and let us know where you're located, and let us know if you see those power lines.
Yep, we're on Main Street right now in Galesburg. Yeah, as I gather more information, I will be sure to keep everybody updated.
All right, Ryan Risky reporting live for us in Galesburg, where there is a fire, and it appears to be on a power line. He's right next to a restaurant, again on Main Street in Galesburg. If you are in that area, stay home right now. As he said, the winds are pretty high there. I'm looking at an image. Please go to our Twitter page. We're going to post all these images right there on social media for you. And the image that I'm looking at, there are tree limbs all over the place, in a parking lot and also on the street right there on Main Street. And that image reported from Ryan Risky. Let's go ahead and send it back to Chief Meteorologist Andy McCrae right now for the latest information. And how high are the speeds in Galesburg right now?
All right, let's check those winds in Galesburg right now. Ryan said it is still extremely windy in Galesburg, causing a lot of problems out here. So there's thunder and lightning going on. And here are the wind speeds around the Galesburg area. And, well, they're pretty bad. We're going to go ahead and plot some of them for you. Pick a couple different parts of Galesburg. 65 miles per hour just up above the ground. 104 miles per hour potentially south of Galesburg. That's a little bit closer to Abingdon. And, well, again, very strong winds. And let's clear the winds off here. And, Garrett, what we'll do is let's just take this back over the last hour or so. We're going to stick with the wind speed, and we're going to watch those winds as they've kind of gone right through the Galesburg area. So we can plot this data. We can either go back an hour or two or whatever it might be, and let's slow this down right as the strong winds were arriving in Galesburg. So let's use the slider bar, and then we can kind of control it however we want. So at 1:30, everything was okay in Galesburg. Everything was fine. You saw the skies getting dark, and then they got darker and darker and darker, and then the strong winds started up in the Galesburg area shortly before 2, so here we are now after 2, and it's another example of how these winds are lasting for a long time. And basically, the longer the winds last, well, then the more they can cause damage, and that's for a couple of different reasons. You know, some trees, some power lines, they might be able to take 50, 60, 70 mile an hour winds for a short while, but when it just keeps getting pushed on and pushed on and pushed on, a lot of the times in the same direction as the storm's moving in, well, then eventually they just have to give, and that's when we end up with some of the problems once the power lines or once the tree limbs start going down. So that's the way things have gone downhill in Galesburg. Now here in the Quad Cities, let's take this up. We'll leave the same thing going, and we'll just move the map off to the north. In the Quad Cities, our timeline, we started seeing the strong winds a little bit earlier, but eventually they're going to let up just a little bit, and that has been the case so far. Now, we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning in the Quad Cities anymore, and that means winds are probably down under 60 miles per hour, but there's just been so much energy released with these thunderstorms that the winds in the Quad Cities could still be 30 and 40 miles per hour, and that's probably what you hear if you're in the Quad Cities outside right now. All right, so on this view here, let's check our storm reports, see if we have any more of those that have come in. And one of the reports from the airport on the north side of the Quad Cities, that was a measured wind gust of 86 miles per hour. So just incredible wind out there. And that's that one. That's from the airport. It's from Mount Joy on the north side of the Quad Cities. Let's clear these off, and let's see what we've had at Quad City International Airport, because again, I don't think any of the area has really been spared all that much. In the Quad Cities, we had 68 mile an hour wind gust and a 79 mile an hour wind gust. So again, this has been an area-wide line of storms. We figured it was going to wreak a lot of havoc. We knew it was going to cause a lot of problems, and that has been the case so far. Again, we have this team coverage. We heard from Redrick and Fulton, widespread damage. Colby let us know what was up in DeWitt, widespread damage. Ryan Risky posting a picture of a little bit of a fire on a power line in Galesburg near a restaurant there. So again, we're talking north of the Quad Cities, in the Quad Cities. Muscatine has been hit hard, Galesburg hit hard, and continuing to get hit hard right now. So that's going to cause some problems. Something else, another reason I don't want us to see a lot of power outages here in the Quad Cities. A lot of times when that happens, Mid-American, Ameren, whoever will do whatever they have to do to bring in extra crews from the surrounding area. Well, Des Moines has more than 100,000 people without power. So these power crews, even if they are coming in from Minnesota, Wisconsin, downstate Illinois, they're going to have to work through a lot of Iowa, and I'm afraid there just might not be quite enough crews to go around, or at least if it was more of a localized thing, all these different power crews could kind of converge on that area, work 24/7 if needed, and get everybody back online as quickly as possible. Well, there's so many power problems in Iowa right now that those crews are going to be a little more spread out than they normally would be. So that's what we have going on. Here's the line of storms. It is east of the Quad Cities. It continues moving in that direction in the metro area. Our weather, that should be improving. The wind speed should be going down, but some numbers, as expected, probably going up right about now. Here's Jim with more about that.
Certainly, those power outage numbers certainly climbing in our area, our community. We'll start with just the overall bigger picture we've got in terms of Mid-American energy for all of Iowa, 149,000, more than that throughout the state. Ameren, Illinois customers, 11,600 customers just about, and ComEd, 723 customers. Though in our area, a big bulk of that is now in Fulton there with 220 customers without power. We go through the Ameren numbers right now. We've got places like New Boston, Keithsburg, east of Burlington there in Gulfport, Monmouth, Big River State Forest, and Galesburg of 277. So overall, they're now looking at about 800 customers without power in that area, maybe a little more close to 1,000. Now we get to our area right here in the immediate Quad Cities with Mid-American Energy. In Iowa alone, now we've seen that number jump to 1,550 customers, just under that. And then on the Illinois side of things, 325 customers just about without power. A bulk of those now on the Iowa side, Bettendorf, with 1,326 customers without power. Of that 1,500, another 200 in Davenport. So that's the bulk of it there right now, Bettendorf and Davenport. And then over in Illinois, we see with Rock Island has 47, Rock Island County about 70, Moline 76, Milan 50, and East Moline 20. Those are making up the bulk of those power outages, certainly. So we're looking at about 149,000 in all of Iowa, 1,500 in Quad Cities of Iowa, and another 350 about in the Quad Cities of Illinois. Certainly we're watching those numbers climb over the last hour or so. Andy, we're going to send things back over to you to hopefully see things calm down shortly, but certainly we're watching things move east, and it doesn't look good as it moves that way.
Yeah, so we certainly don't want to neglect any of our friends and viewers east of the Quad Cities right now, so we'll come back to some of the power numbers here shortly. But where we still have severe weather ongoing, damaging winds of 70 and 75 miles per hour, let's check out the line of thunderstorms now as it continues in Bureau County right now in Illinois, around the Princeton area. If you're familiar, east of the Quad Cities along Interstate 80, that's where some of the worst weather is right now. So I want to go down and zoom in on Princeton in Bureau County as the weather, again, just now going downhill. If you're in Princeton, you've been watching, you've been thinking, well, it's not so bad yet, not so bad yet, not so bad yet. Yet was the key word, because you know that it was heading in your direction, and it is now arriving right along Interstate 80. Plenty of thunder and lightning, and the drive right now just about impossible to do between Princeton and Anawan, and it's impossible to do even with both hands on the wheel, because you can't see hardly anything right now. It's a blinding rain, and we are talking about very strong winds. It still could be 80, 90, 95 miles per hour. So Garrett just plotted some of the information here, and that is what we are looking at. Again, extremely strong winds. Again, we don't want to leave anybody hanging. If you're watching from Princeton, we've got you covered. We're here for you. We're here for everybody all around the area. And in Princeton right now, let's pull up some of the, let's go with the tornado safety tips, because I've mentioned this multiple times today. We need to treat this as if it is a tornado warning. We can have a tornado that might produce winds of 70 or 75 miles per hour. We have these straight line winds that have been even stronger than that. So again, just pretend it's a tornado warning. Go to the basement or lowest level of your home. Stay away from the windows. Go to an interior room or closet. So remember that. Now, once everything has passed by, if you'd like to share some pictures or video with us, we're going to have a lot of that. We see a lot of it already on our Facebook page. But if and only if it's safe. When it's safe, if you'd like to do that, we'd be happy to take it. We'll be happy to share it a little bit later, as again, there will be a lot of pictures and a lot of video to get through, as this has been a significant severe weather event. This is really the third one of the season that has affected a lot of people. The first one of the first ones anyway, it was in April, and we had that 2.5 inch mostly hail that caused the damage in Davenport and Bettendorf. But if you remember earlier this spring, new roofs going up all over the place. That was why. Then we had that Saturday about a month ago, right through the Quad Cities especially. We had 80 and almost 90-mile-an-hour winds, caused some problems. At that point in time, we had about 30,000 people without power in the Quad Cities. And now here we are in August, almost the middle of the month. I know it's hard to believe, but this has not just been the Quad Cities. This has been area-wide. This is a significant severe weather outbreak. If you watch the national news even a little bit later tonight, you're probably going to hear about it there. Okay, so look at the winds again. Because of the thunderstorm close to the airport when the hourly observation was taken, extreme winds. Even though the storm is now east of the Quad Cities, we're still talking about a pocket of extremely strong winds out there. We need these to go down sooner than later, as we don't want to take any, additional, trouble on. In Clinton, the wind has gusted up to 60 miles per hour. I saw a report just a little while ago that I think there was one even about 70 miles per hour, but we're looking at very strong winds out there, to say the least. As we've talked about here today, we're happy you're with us. Hopefully you've been able to stay safe. The biggest problem has been from the winds. I mentioned the blinding rain along Interstate 80. For the last hourly update, there wasn't fog out there. It's just so much rain, so much wind, a little bit of debris. Visibility was down to a half a mile in the Quad Cities. So tricky to say the least out there. All right, I don't know if we have any video from our Local 4 storm chaser, Colby Martin, if we want to pull that back up. Okay, so he told us about the extensive damage in DeWitt on the north side of the Quad Cities. And now he's back on the move again, so we'll catch up with him in just a little while, but he'll have that video feed up. And when we saw this video feed earlier, when he was going through parts of DeWitt, you could see trees down on the side of the road right as he was driving by. He also reported ambulances on the move, lights on, sirens on, police officers too. There's some debris there you could see strewn along parts of the interstate, or Highway 61, and yeah, so that looks like he's getting off maybe on Highway 30 there. So we'll continue to follow that video. We had great video from our Quad Cities cam in Rock Island earlier, but that camera went offline as it was hit hard by the strong winds. It could be about 80 miles per hour. So again, a lot of problems around the area. Cell phone towers, they might be having some problems too. If you are still with us on the cell phone, if you're trying to get a hold of somebody, they might have a hard time with their provider right now, because again, there could be some cell phone problems too, and there are most definitely power problems. And I still believe, I'll be shocked if we don't get some kind of a much larger number of people who have to be without power. Hopefully just a short temporary thing, but again, I'll be surprised if there's not some kind of report where that number does go up just a little bit. So here's the latest on our Pinpoint Doppler radar. Still raining around the Quad Cities. Now the storms have moved in and moved out fast enough. It was dry enough lately too that if you have a sump pump at home, maybe if your power's out, if you're worried about the battery backup like I know a lot of us do, they probably aren't going to have to go off all that often, because again, it's been very dry outside lately, and the storms have come in and moved fast enough that the rain totals are not going to be 3, 4, 5 inches. It's probably going to be up to about an inch, maybe an inch and a half or so. Heavier totals off to the north, so hopefully we can try to give you at least a little bit of good news. All right, well, Ann has more of our team coverage. We'll have another radar update here shortly. In the meantime, we'll send it over to Ann to see what's up right now.
Andy, we've been talking about power outages right here in the Quad Cities. For the state of Iowa, there's over 150,000 people without power right now. We're going to keep you up to date, especially right here in the Quad Cities, so stay with us for that. We have taken you to Fulton. Ryan Risky was in Galesburg showing you some images. We have all of that on our website, ourquadcities.com, so if you want to see that video, go ahead and check that out. Use your internet, use your phone, and go ahead and take a look at that. I also want to let you know that some of our viewers are sending us messages. We had one from Angela. She is in Davenport, and she says on 14th Street, when we say travel is not advised, it is not advised. You saw Colby out there driving around. Colby is a storm chaser. He's been doing this for a number of years. He is an expert in this field. for all of us at home, travel really is not advised. She says there are tree limbs down everywhere. Her son was trying to get home. A tree actually, according to Angela in Davenport, a tree hit her son's car. He's stuck now, waiting in the car on the phone with his mom, relaying information to her. So apparently it appears he's okay. But again, travel is not advised right now. Go ahead and just stay inside. Stay tuned to our storm team coverage. Andy will keep you ahead of the storm. It's what he's been doing for over 20 years right here in the Quad Cities. So he will keep you posted. But right now, I want to send it out to our team coverage as we continue to keep you ahead of the storm. We do know that there are 3 semis flipped over. This is on Highway 61. Mike Cologne, one of our photojournalists, live on the scene right now. And Mike, what are you seeing?
Well, Anna, as I came up Brady Street, there was a number of trees and power lines down, some pretty messy conditions out there for travel. I went up Brady, up 61, and near the Mountjoy exit, there were at least 3 semi-trucks flipped over on their sides. Highway 61 southbound is completely blocked, so I had to come back around, and I came down Jersey Ridge to get back in town. I'm sitting at the intersection of 60th Street and Jersey Ridge, where there's a very large tree that has fallen over and almost completely blocked the road. There's a little bit of the shoulder left for cars to kind of let each other go back and forth through, but otherwise 60th and Jersey Ridge is blocked. And I serve in the United States Coast Guard. I know you lived in Florida for a while. This is the closest thing to a hurricane that I've experienced in years. Reporting live in Davenport, Mike Cologne, Local 4 News.
Mike, I'm not going to let you go just yet. And we've been listening to Andy for a couple of hours now. He's been talking about the wind speeds. In some locations, over 80 miles per hour. That is a Cat 1 hurricane. If you're familiar with hurricanes in any way, shape, or form, over 75 miles per hour is considered a Cat 1. So when we talk about severe weather and staying home, please listen to the advisory. Try not to travel. And are you seeing cars out there, Mike, as you're traveling around?
Well, again, it's a mess out here. This tree that's fallen on Jersey Ridge has also taken out a power line. I know on the scanners they've been telling officers and first responders to make sure to check around the car before they even get out of the car to make sure there isn't a power line nearby that could possibly be a hazard. So, yeah, being out here is probably not a good idea today. If you're at home and you still got power, maybe it's a good time to hunker down and just kind of keep an eye on the storm coverage on Local 4 News.
Yeah, stay inside if you can, and if you don't have power, grab your phone, grab your iPad, and go ahead and just log on to ourquadcities.com. We will keep you posted. We are streaming live there, too. Mike, I don't know if I still have you, but do you know if anyone was injured in the semis that were flipped over?
Not that I saw. I did see one driver was sitting in the back of a Scott County Sheriff's Department squad car, and he actually got out and squeezed his way through the windshield of the truck to get some personal items and then hop back in the squad car, and they got out of there because it's a mess.
All right, Mike Cologne reporting live for us. Thank you. Let's send it back to Chief Meteorologist Andy McCrae right now. Andy, where Mike is located right now, how high did the speeds get in that area? 3 semis flipping over.
And I'm actually really not all that surprised to hear that. We've talked a lot about how the winds were measured up 80, 85, almost 90 miles per hour at the National Weather Service office on the north side of town. Think about where that is. That is on Highway 61, Brady Street, on the north side of the Quad Cities by the Mountjoy exit. That's exactly where we had the 2 winds measured. One was 75, one was 86 miles per hour, and that's within a mile of, or mile and a half or so of exactly where Mike is talking about. So this is North Brady Street, this is Highway 61, and there is the exit to get to the National Weather Service office, also some other industrial sites there. That's the airport, that's literally the runway of the Davenport Municipal Airport there on the north side of town. Now, when you take a flight, if you're on United or American or Delta, obviously you're at the Quad City International Airport in Moline, but we have a lot of smaller planes here, some business jets also able to arrive at this airport. That's where the National Weather Service is. So those semis, they're right along this part of Highway 61. And Mike also mentioned, I think it was a large tree down maybe around Jersey Ridge. Well, that's just off to the east. You know, here's Eastern, so Jersey Ridge not too far away from there too. So again, not all that surprised to hear that report. A little further south on 61, comes down into the Quad Cities, then it goes over through Muscatine too. Also a report of a semi that was blown over there. So again, this is not a localized thing. Unfortunately, this kind of damage is all over the place. Here in the district of Rock Island, it sounds like there are at least small branches kind of strewn and blown all around the district. We talked earlier, one of the casings around one of the street lights here fell, landed on a car here in the district, and that again is really just the tip of the iceberg. There is damage everywhere. I'm certain there's some kind of trampoline somewhere that's blown up onto somebody's tree or up towards somebody's house, and I bet you there are thousands of lawn chairs or patio seats that are at least tipped over and maybe blown up against the fence. Again, widespread damage all around the area. More and more of these storm reports now coming in from the Metro Quad Cities. But before we talk any more about that, everybody east of the Quad Cities, I promised I wasn't going to leave you hanging. I want to show you where the weather is at its worst right now. And it's getting to the edge of our coverage area. Once it gets a little closer to Chicago, then we'll focus on, the cleanup and the recovery and doing all of that. For now, though, parts of the viewing area still in the thick of it. Princeton, Illinois, eastern side of Bureau County, a little bit of Lee County here. But again, this would be our area of main concern. We are looking at, again, around Princeton, Illinois. That is what we are looking at. Again, very strong winds in Princeton. The winds are starting to let up. Okay, so those winds could be up to 100 miles per hour up above the ground. And the wind should be improving in Galesburg. But we told you about some big-time problems in Galesburg from earlier today, and Jim has more about that right now.
Absolutely. We'll get to that in just a second, Andy. And we're seeing our power outage numbers climb once again. More than 150,000 customers without power. Mid-American energy customers in Iowa and Illinois, Quad Cities area of Iowa, 1,800 customers now without power. Illinois has caught up, actually surpassed 1,833. We talked earlier about a fire in Galesburg. I believe we have some images of that for you there. This looks like just the bottom of a utility pole. We also have some great footage we're going to try to bring you from another gentleman, a Facebook viewer of ours, sent us an email of a spectacular fire. Looked like maybe a transformer fire off in the distance, bigger than that. But certainly when power poles get hit with wind and the lines come down, they are live. You have to always assume they are live. You should not drive anywhere near them, walk anywhere near anything like this. This is why you stay indoors in a situation like this, because the wind can certainly do a lot of damage, knock down trees into power lines and all that sort of thing. We're now looking at our camera footage from high above our Quad Cities cam, looking down into the area. We see the storm now coming into the area again, another wave perhaps, but you can see the downburst there. Certainly a menacing storm that has just popped up today. The conditions were ripe for it, and we're seeing the damage it's doing to this greater Quad Cities area and beyond. Let's check in again now with Chief Meteorologist Andy McCrae. This is one of those days, Andy.
That video, again, just incredible from earlier today. Again, that was earlier today as the storms were just rolling into the Quad Cities. In the Quad Cities metro area, there is cleanup to be done. There is no doubt about that. But the weather is starting to improve. But again, I just still can't believe what it looked like earlier today. In all the years looking at this camera with storm after storm after storm approaching the Quad Cities, I've never seen this happen. And again, this is unusual, but again, we knew the winds were strong. Look right there at the river, blowing back toward the Centennial Bridge. And again, obviously we know it's not the entire river, but the top layer of the river in reverse. Crazy to see, but that was the case here. I think that was between 1 and 1:30. The camera went out shortly after this, and I believe that was around 1:20 or so. So that is what it looked like. Again, that out of all of the video, all of the different radar signatures that I'll remember from the day, this will be probably up there at about the top of the list. That was pretty incredible video there. So, okay, here's the latest on our Pinpoint Doppler radar right now. Again, everything in Galesburg starting to improve. Hopefully that little fire that we had is under control. Still some rain coming down in the Quad Cities. Nothing too bad. Our rain totals aren't going to be super high. I don't think it's going to break up the drought or anything like that. But the rain, we were okay with that. One thing we were not okay with was the wind. And you can see this latest warning getting issued. It's including getting areas a little closer to Chicago. They'll have to deal with this over the next hour or two. We wish them well, but at least our weather will be improving a little bit. That's the first tornado warning that we've seen today. It's outside of the viewing area, so we're not going to focus on it for too long. But just east of Rockford, again, that is the first tornado warning that we have seen. Again, that's out of our coverage area, so we're going to bring it right back closer to home now. A lot of thunder and lightning now, mainly east of the Quad Cities. In the Quad Cities, if you need to go out and survey the damage, I always remind people Don't do it too soon. If you can still hear thunder, then you're close enough to the storm that you could be struck by lightning. A lot of the times people who run into trouble with lightning, and obviously you can run into significant trouble with it, it's not getting inside soon enough as the storm is rolling in, or on the other hand, it's getting outside too soon as the storm hasn't fully passed you just yet. So remember, if you can still hear thunder, the storm is still too close. You don't want to go outside and see what's happening. Like, look at this. There's some thunder here. The worst of the storm, that's well off to the east. And then 30 miles almost behind the storm, we have another little part of the storm that's actually produced several different lightning strikes around Aledo. So, again, if you can still hear thunder, don't go out just yet. The damage is going to still be there, unfortunately, in 10 or 15 minutes when it's a little safer to go outside and check things out. We appreciate all of the pictures and the video that have been sent in to ourquadcities.com, the Our Quad Cities app. That's one of the super easy ways to do it. And then also on Facebook. You can upload posts and pictures and videos there, and we'll share some of those videos. So again, we had that video from Our Quad Cities Camp Rock Island. Again, that was earlier today. And again, this is team coverage, all hands on deck. Boy, this was pretty wild. This was right as it was about to go downhill in a hurry. Maybe even off a cliff would be a better way to describe it. This is what it looked like earlier today. I don't know if in the back, I'll keep saying it. I don't know if we want to get a super or a little label ready that just says earlier today, so I don't want people to think this is happening again. But each time we show this video, I will continue to stress that this was earlier today between 1 and 1:30, something we have never seen. We've seen a lot of crazy things from this Our Quad Cities Camp Rock Island. It's served us well for years and years and years, but again, I don't think it has ever looked like it did earlier today. So again, that was between 1 and 1:30. So we'll continue getting different bits and pieces of video from around the area. Our team coverage continues. We've had reports from Fulton. We've had reports from the Quad Cities, from Galesburg, from Muscatine, from Local 4 storm chaser Colby Martin in DeWitt. Again, damage all throughout the area, north to south. We'll see even more of these storm reports coming in. So this is why it is all hands on deck. This is why we have Jim and Ann here in the studio, Garrett at the controls, and we have reporters who are out safely gathering information so we can